All right, we're on air.
Good evening, everyone. John
Good
Wynn
evening.
here, and this is
And
Bill Day. What's up? And this is the Doomer Bloomer podcast. So, what do we have on the show tonight, Bill?
Time dilation. Einstein versus Newtonian physics and how he uh, built on Newton's theories and made them better and more general relativity. Retirement plans, best place to retire for your money, mass shooting and gun control,
Mm-hmm.
Airbnb, rental investments, and other entrepreneurship. Bill Nye the Science Guy, and debunking Arc Park and flat Earth and anti-science in general.
Yeah, you're talking about like Bill Nye. Like what sparked you with that was the debate he had with Ken Ham, correct? Who has the
Right, and I didn't realize that was old news.
Yeah, it's a great debate, and to think that this day and age, some dude thinks the Earth is still 6,000 years old and has a park explaining how things really happen, quote unquote,
And how
with
they
his
loaded dinosaurs
yeah, exactly.
and like we coexisted with dinosaurs. I thought that was freaking hilarious.
Yeah, I know.
There were literally people feeding like one of those long neck dinosaurs.
Yeah.
It is. It's kind of bizarre that people still believe that things like the Earth is flat. We
Mm-hmm.
coexist with dinosaurs. The Earth is 6,000 years old. We
Yeah,
have some
exactly.
evidence to the contrary.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, with the science we have today, there's so many outlandish beliefs that you could kind of have that wouldn't necessarily contradict science as the way we know it. I mean, you could believe in like all kinds of aliens. You can believe in reincarnations and stuff like that. Stuff that doesn't really contradict the science we have. There's no proof for it at the same time, right? No concrete proof, but at least it doesn't. It's not like clear as day how false it is, right? I mean,
Well,
you can't you can't really objectively tell me that reincarnation is an absolute impossibility, but we can definitely say with confidence that the Earth is way beyond 6,000 years old, right?
100%. Just in the geological
Yes.
scale alone. You
Yeah,
know,
exactly. So I don't know, like, with the
so
wealth of all kinds of crazy beliefs out there, I don't know why people cling to these thoroughly debunked myths and legends here.
well, and the other side of the coin is again, like Bill Nye points it out, is they're preaching this sort of stuff to children.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. It's
And like
completely
you said, by the time you're 10 years old, if you haven't opened your mind to a certain potentiality of the world, you're going to believe your parents believed or what their parents told you,
yeah,
which is kind of sad in a way.
it's very sad. I mean, a lot of these there's like remote areas in the US like where um they want to put like creationism over science, right? They'll present science. Oh, this is kind of what other people think of, but this is the real story. Even though they
Well,
say it's not. That's insane.
the fact that the whole fundamental idea of biology is evolution is what got us to where we are now, right?
Yeah,
If
yeah,
you go back in the branch of tree life, in the tree of life on the branches, there's a common ancestor there somewhere. You know,
yeah,
uh, we weren't just sculpted out of clay or mud or somebody's rib cage sort of thing, right?
exactly.
Those are not wives' tales, but they're I always look at the Bible as an allegorical story. I don't look at it as, this is absolute gospel truth, right?
Well, definitely not factual truth. It's it's archetypical or archetypal. Never mind.
Archetypical.
Uh, Archetypical, like referring to the archetypes in Jungian psychology, where all these common myths and beliefs. Like it's not like flooding. The flooding myth is unique to Christianity or the major monotheistic religions. Where I mean, it's in all kinds of more primitive religions, and I'm not saying primitive that Christianity is more evolved or whatever. It's just like the latest culturally important religion of the time right now. But be it the hero's journey, traversing the shadow, facing death, mages, wizardry, demons. I mean, it's these are common memes or themes, if you will, in pretty much every culture across the planet, and that's where I agree with you. It's allegorical truth there. it,
Well, and
it touches something deep within the the common man's collective unconscious.
you have to remember that Christianity replaced a lot of pagan religions, right? And they worship the sun and the natural elements.
Yeah, or had many gods, and yeah.
So and Jesus literally, laid 3 days on the cross and was reborn. Well, if you look at the night sky at the end of December, December 25th, you don't see the sun for 3 days, and then it starts going back the other way. So you start seeing the sun again. So it's literally an
Hmm.
allegory of the sun.
Yeah. Huh,
Because I
the,
believe Jesus was a person in the Bible. Oh, well, he's a person in the Bible, but I don't believe he lived the life that they say he did. Because these
I
these stories
mean,
made up after the fact.
yeah. A lot of there's there's theories that Jesus could be like himself, like kind of like a a story written about all kinds of different like illuminated people that were existing at the time. um supposedly Jesus was a fairly common name. Plus, the Bible was written 40 or 50 years, I think, after the fact. It's not even Jesus's apostles um, that actually wrote that. It's like stories that were handed down by them to other people that reached the authors of the Bible 40, 50 years down the line, if I'm not mistaken.
And originally, the Bible was written in Latin. So
Yeah, exactly. Look, I mean, if you've from a young age, I was like skeptical about the Bible. I just remember, and it's clear as day to me. We played the first time we played the game Telephone. I was in kindergarten, and so the teacher was like, "We're going to play a game. I'm going to say something to you, and she or he's going to say it to the person next to them, et cetera, et cetera." And we're like maybe 25 people in the class at the time. And by the time we reached the last person, what they said was completely different from what was originally said. This is in the space of 5 minutes. Uh, something being repeated. Um, you know, trying to be repeated word for word to the person right next to them, and within less than 5 minutes, and it was completely different on the other end. So when I heard that the Bible was written like 40, 50 years after the supposedly facts, I mean, it's to say that's literal truth is completely insane to me, that someone would be, you know,
so you're
would buy
saying
that so easily.
it's at best it's a version of telephone that's been written.
Yeah. Yeah.
Historical I would tend to agree with you there.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, well, people when I actually had a weird epiphany during my meditation last night, and it was um, I was listening to music, different types of music, and then I got onto a hip hop song, and it kind of brought me back to when I was a teenager, and I remember really being um, the more I started listening to hip hop when I was like I had already been listening to hip hop for a while, but when things started getting really, really bad in my life, um, I started to cling to this hip hop mentality more and more. It was almost like a self brainwashing because I thought it was the only way, the best way to be for someone in my situation at the time, and I notice how much it just brainwashed me. It's like when you don't have much going in your life, you'll cling to whatever. Like when I look at some of the mentalities during this meditation, when I was looking at the certain types of mentality I was having at the time, like how I used to think and all that, I was completely, I was like, how could I even think that? How could I, like, I endorse that? It was like twisted, because it's not like I was trying to be like a pure incarnation of the hip hop mentality from the 90s, mind you, where it was a lot more violent than it was today, violent and about the streets and gangster shit and all that stuff. And how could someone like me that was like going through, like, actually what I really needed was like some stability and some true love and friendship and stuff like that in my life. How could you try to gain that in something that's like so dark and negative at the same time? Anyways, through this babble, what I'm trying to say here is, when people feel they don't have nothing worthwhile in their life, they'll cling to anything to give them hope. You know,
that's right. It's hope.
yeah, the opium of the people.
And you know what? If it works for some people, that's fine. But personally, it doesn't work for me, the Bible, anyways.
Yeah, I mean, if it works, if it gives you some type of comfort and all that, but don't try to say that you're being intellectually honest with people when it's clear that you're dogmatic. Like, I mean, I know there's a whole bunch of wisdom in the Bible. There's wisdom in there, but stop. I mean, man, I have like compassion in a way for these Christians, man. Like, they're NPCs. Like, they're just like the far left, who are basically NPC. You've heard about that meme, right?
The NP non-player character meme.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. I mean,
Yeah,
religious zealots, that's what they are. It's the same thing. You know, it's it's a sad state that some. I mean, you look at Muslims, you just criticize their prophet, and they think that it's their duty to kill you. Imagine having that type of deep programming inside of you. You know
that would be
how bad you can't relax when an idea that's obviously false, like they believe, just like the Christians, they believe like Muhammad flew away on a fucking winged horse and all that. They believe it. They believe it like it's clear as day. I've heard, like, I've seen some other debates, very instructed, like very educated Muslim. You wouldn't think this guy would believe in this type of thing. And I think he was debating Richard Dawkins, or someone, one of the four horsemen of atheism, or Sam Harris, someone like that. And they were like, "So you really truly believe that the Quran is literal truth and Muhammad actually flew on a Pegasus into the heavens, and this is what happens in the heavens, and people that have eaten pork or this or that is like, well, that is my belief. The Muslim dude was saying that, and he seemed like a very normal guy compared to like some of these freaks. But imagine how brainwashed you are to clearly, to know and clearly know deep down inside that this is falsehood, but it's like your brain, for whatever reason, self-protection, especially in the Muslim world, where not believing or criticizing that religion can get you killed or in prison.
Well, and there's also often a lot of money at stake too. I mean, with Ken Ham, I'm sure he has a lot of personal investment in these things being
Yeah.
financial, right?
Yeah, I'm sure he's an atheist. I'm sure he gets off the phone and calls Bill Nye. He's like, you got me there. You almost exposed my scam there, buddy. Come on, man. Give me a break. You've got
That's
millions invested in. Imagine Bill Nye invested in the company. He's like, well,
so.
there's so many dumb people out there that might as well invest some money in here. He's got like 500 grand invested there.
In Art Park LLC, Ken
Yeah.
Ham, Noah's Ark Investments.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah. Well, speaking of real science, we've got you had something you wanted to discuss, and I find fascinating too.
The
Is
time dilation.
Einstein's, yeah, like
Dilation
all
form.
Einstein's. Say what?
Einstein was a punk man. He was just
Yes.
a bit of a punk. That's my take on
Well,
Einstein.
but when you say punk, it sounds like he's a punk ass bitch. Like a lot
Like,
of people equate that,
like,
but I know you mean punk rock or like a rebel.
like a rebel rouser, because he basically
Yeah,
Newton, your shit doesn't add up, man. Like when you start going really,
exactly.
really, or if you start going near really large objects, things start going out of whack. What's going on here?
Yeah,
So
exactly.
his thought experiment basically was, what happens if I'm in a moving train going at the speed of light away from a clock? Like what would actually start? What would happen to the clock? And if
Mm-hmm.
relative to the observer, the clock would appear to slow down if you were going away from it at the speed of light. But if you
Yeah.
were at the clock would just continue to tick at the speed it always did. But
Mm-hmm.
we now know that if you start traveling at super fast velocities,
Yeah.
time is actually dilated or warped. So it's
Yeah.
elongated to match the speed of light, which we now know is a constant in our universe.
Yeah. Exactly. And another thing that he pretty much proved is that there's no like time is not like a blanket. Um, it's not constant. Like right now, the present moment, right now, it might be like nanoseconds, like even less than that. But the present for me right now is not the same as the present for you right now.
For me,
Yeah,
we're actually out of sync.
exactly. Like nothing is happening at the same time. Is basically what I've gathered from one of his theories, and that applies, I think, to time dilation.
Well, I just how it explains gravity in a much more generalistic view, right? Because we all know gravity, in a macro sense works. You drop something, it falls down.
Exactly. It's a force of attraction, but it actually bends space time.
Correct. He actually came up with the idea of space time. So the sun, for example,
Yeah.
imagine there's a giant bowling ball in the middle of a blanket. If
Mm-hmm.
you put the blanket's going to sag a little bit, right? You'll see a sag in the center.
Yeah.
If if you roll a ball that's smaller than the sun, it's going to
Yeah.
follow a curve around that larger object.
Yeah.
So it's
Yeah. Yeah.
curving the space and time around it.
Yeah.
which I find absolutely fascinating. These are things that,
Yeah, and it is. I'm just starting to be able to get like kind of like a clearer grasp on what he's proving with these formulas. I mean, I knew as a teenager, and I was like, oh yeah, I know Einstein's E equals mc squared. I know what it means and all that, but like what I mean, it goes so much further down the rabbit hole.
well,
And now we're like light years away from that with quantum mechanics and string theory and um,
well, it actually.
interdimensional,
Sorry, go ahead.
yeah, multidimensional realities, etc., parallel universes, and it I mean, there's so much we don't know.
Mm,
And there's not only so much we don't know we don't know, there's so much stuff we don't know that we don't know. You
that's
catch my drift there?
that's almost like a Carl Sagan quote. Sure, it's out there somewhere. The known
Okay.
unknowns. I believe
Yeah.
it's a quote. But like you're coming back to the quantum computing, like we now know that because of Einstein's theory, the speed of light, you actually have to make like you actually have to compensate for that when you're doing quantum computing because of it.
Yeah.
Uh, and do you know what the twin paradox is? Have you heard of that? The twin paradox.
The twin paradox. I might, but when you say it like that, no.
So just imagine, John, there was like an exact carbon copy of yourself. Okay, you're
Yeah.
identical twin. So you're born at the same time, and you've had exactly the same experiences. So coming back to like this the spaceship idea, and I don't know if you watched Interstellar or not.
No, I didn't. I went down a rabbit hole last night. So
Okay. So, anyways, it's directly relating to time dilation. So, let's say, for example, you're stuck on Earth, and your twin gets in a spaceship and leaves Earth at the speed of light. Okay, or approaching the velocity speed of light.
yeah,
Time for him is going to start slowing down as he approaches the speed of light. But for
yeah,
you, time remain the same.
yeah,
So his trip may have taken an hour through like of traveling at the speed of light.
yeah. But you would have aged a few years.
At least, yeah, somewhere between 5 to 10 years. Like let's just say, for example, with this formula, you can actually calculate the differences between the two twins.
Yeah,
Like biological age will not be the same when the other twin returns.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Which I don't know. I just as a thought experiment, it always has fascinated me.
It's mind blowing. It's mind blowing what we can prove, what we can systematically prove on and on again with mathematics, the
Mm.
language, the language of the universe, at least one of its languages. There might be concepts, um, kind of like in a way that math is seems to be universal. Uh, that works for our senses. We're the only animal on Earth that I think that can really conceptualize math here. Maybe monkeys, a very very rudimentary degree, but it's insane that we have access to stuff like that to unlock like the potentiality of the universe. I mean, think about it. I mean, we're able to split atoms and create like incredibly huge amounts of power and energy, and it was all done through imagination of smart men and women, um, putting some numbers in a certain sequence and unlocking the powers. I mean, they're wizards.
That's yeah. It comes back to the other quote. If you were coming from an advanced civilization, it would appear like magic to us, right?
Well, man, you fucking put someone just from 200-300 years ago in today's world, he'll lose his fucking mind.
Yep.
He'll see a fucking freight truck, he'll think it's like some weird metal dragon trying to chase him down. You know, imagine if he just caught like he appeared like in the middle of a city, um, and he spent like maybe like half an hour in that city, and he'd go into like places like Circuit City, and he'd see like smartphones and TVs and stuff like that. He'd be like, and he'd go back and he'd be like, they had these windows that showed all kinds of images across the world and other people, and it's like the ultimate crystal ball, or uh I mean, there's so many examples.
No, I'm with you on that one. But when is somebody gonna invent something that prevents mass shootings?
Yeah,
No.
when they clone Hitler, maybe.
Uh, oh yeah,
You know,
I hear
Hitler,
that's
he'll
right.
build an army, take everyone's. He'll just do mass genocide instead.
Well, that's what cruise ships are about. You've heard that Bill
That's
Burr
what.
joke?
Oh
Build
yes, yes, yes,
people are
yes.
for
I've heard it.
population.
Yes, yes, yes.
With people who don't
Like
know.
these stupid
Yeah,
motherfuckers that go on cruise ships. Those are the perfect victims. These dumb bumbling fools. I don't want to butcher his material here there, but yeah, it was
go.
it was that, and it was that show actually wasn't one. Like it's still good, entertaining, but it's not his best material, in my opinion. I don't want to be a critic or anything. It's just he has so much good material out there. Just like your favorite band, you know, you like all their albums, but there's some you prefer more than others.
Mm, that's true.
Yeah.
You didn't really answer my question.
What
When
about what?
like do you think that like gun violence could be deterred by regulation, or is there going to have to be some sort of physical deterrent?
Well,
You know what I'm
it
saying?
could be. It could be like short term. It could be short term that they could bring down gun control, but like in a melting pot like the U.S., it would have to be like some type of very invasive government to pull off something like that. And in some place like the US, I think it would break down, it would completely break down their society, their culture, which is kind of like happening right now. Um the US is in some pretty intense culture war. That's, you know, that's been, you know, I guess it really started in the 60s, kind of died down after that, but since the year 2000s, you know, since Bush, it kind of germinated back again. But in the last 10 years, especially the last 5 years, um, and now with Trump, is completely going off the rail. I never thought like the Democrat Party could be the crazy ones. I always saw like the Republicans as the crazy idiots, like the nut jobs and stuff. And now I'm seeing it, like I'm seeing that in on the Democrat side. You know, I always thought like the Democrat had a little bit more reasonable propositions compared to the Republicans. Now, have you noticed the Republicans don't talk much about religion anymore? Back in the Bush era, it was all about, you know, appeasing the Christians and stuff. We don't hear much about that anymore from that side. They're like their main focus is free speech and you know, conserving some more, you know, the preservation of classical values, if you will.
Like traditionalists, yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
like the family unit and
yeah. Yeah,
yeah.
it's not about like, oh, we should have more Jesus in school, and like it talks about religion, and I think it's the Democrats' fault. They're pushing identity politics so far right now, and it's it's like they're fighting for disenfranchised people, and or they're, disenfranchised people do, be it from race, sex, ethnicity, etc., religion, fighting for their own freedom, or their supporters, like white nerdy kids joining Antifa and shit, that are going towards communism and socialism and the likes.
Well,
It's
we kind of have a case of that in Canada. Like there was like they had this whole manhunt into northern Manitoba for those two young kids, right?
yeah, yeah.
And they'd kind of become radicalized in a sense,
But
and that
why? Well, I know about the story, but do they have any motives? Like, I didn't hear what their motives were. Did you hear something
well,
about that?
it's just they're. I only know it from the interview they had with the one dad. Is like eventually, yeah, like these kids are going to be found dead, pretty much, either through their own hand or by somebody else's. But they're
Okay.
originally from Vancouver Island, and they're the chief murder suspects for a young couple and a guy near Dees Lake, which is in.
Yeah, that I know. That I know. But what was the motivation for that?
Well, they were Nazis or like
Were
modern.
they?
Yeah, that's just from their social media accounts specifically,
Okay.
and
Yeah.
from certain like documentation they may have written about it. That's my take on it. Anyways,
Oh, okay, I had no idea. Like, I heard about the story, but every time I try to find a motive or whatnot, I had no idea what it was. I didn't know if it was drug or gang related, or was it like a robbery or anything like that. So I didn't know. But yeah, I mean, so in this day and age, if you're falling for real for, Nazi nut job fucking ideology, you're probably you probably have a predisposition of being already screwed in the head, and that's just going to aggravate, and that's like just the catalyst that's going to light that crazy shit inside of you even more.
yeah, and and in the states, it's very easy to access weapons. I mean, harder than it is in Canada, at least.
Yeah.
There's quite a process here, right?
Mhm. Yeah, well, I mean, the thing is like, I don't have I love guns and knives, but I've kept that out of my environment, just because, you know it, you have a knife on you. Say, like, I've been into, when I was younger, I'd get into brawls at bars and stuff like that. Um, and if you're in a situation where you're outnumbered or whatever, and you feel, you fear for your safety, your number one reflex is gonna, especially have you a couple drinks in you. I don't drink anymore, but if you have a couple drinks in you and you don't want to back down, no man with a reasonable amount of backbone is going to want to back down, you know if he feels he has the means. So, you're, and in a sense, I believe you're allowed to stand your ground. I mean, if you haven't done anything and you're at a bar and people are starting shit with you for no reason, and you have the means to defend yourself, you shouldn't have to run away like a bitch, and call the police and hope that they're gonna resolve the problems for you. But we live in a society that encourages that. But in any case, if you don't have that potentiality on you, you're going to use your brain. Your brain's going to find another way, and you might have to run like a bitch and avoid stupid shit, right?
Yeah, well, I think avoidance is a good strategy, but at the same time, if you didn't really start the shit and somebody started shit with you,
Yeah.
I don't think my inclination would be to back down. I don't think.
No, no, exactly. But what happens if there's 3, 4 guys, like over 200 pounds each, and they really want to get into you and do serious harm. If you don't have like any weapons, and
Uh,
you're outmatched and all that, you
then I
might you
snap a cool cue off and stab a bitch. I don't.
yeah, yeah. Well, you, you,
I
you
know. I know what you're saying. If you're outnumbered, you're outnumbered.
yeah, you're outnumbered, and but if you have a gun on you, or if you have a knife on you, I mean, you're like, okay, I'm outnumbered. If I stab a couple motherfuckers in the head, I might win this. I'll just go for that.
Level of
In intense situations. So like in a place where there's so many guns everywhere, and we're not even counting like the underground market, because it doesn't matter even if they ban guns. There, with the amount of guns that are there now presently, plus all the guns that can come from Mexico and other countries. I mean, there's going to be a huge underground market. There's going to be a huge underground market, and it might be harder for some people, but I think for some people that are really motivated to do that type of shit, I mean, you can order guns on the dark web now. You know,
Yep.
so I mean, damn, it's not that harder to get a gun here in Canada. Also, by the way, like at least a rifle, it is harder, but it's not that much harder.
It's harder to
And there's actually an
get it
hmm?
restricted. You can, yeah, you can get your, like you said, you can get a hunting rifle probably within 3 weeks.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I know my dad had five rifles, but I mean, when I was younger, I got my hands on three 410 shotguns, man.
There you go.
You know, straight up underground. And then, when I realized how serious this could be and how bad it could get me in trouble, cost me like the equivalent of like 120 or $150 or something, some shit like that. Some guy, really needed, and I'm like, oh, I'm a young kid. I was like 18 or something like that. I'm like, oh yeah, it'd be cool to have some guns. But then I realize, if I get caught with these, or even worse, I decide on uh, a foolish night after a few beers, and I get some beef, and I have some beef with someone to even if I don't like actually shoot the person, and I just like, oh yeah, maybe I can scare him a bit, right? Some dumb juvenile shit like that. I would have gotten in major trouble. So, I just got rid of him.
Probably for the
I
best.
got rid of. Oh yeah, definitely for the best. Definitely for the best. And that's the thing. If you have something, there's a case to be made to ban them. To ban them, but a place like the U.S., I don't know, land of the free, and with so much corruption, and like I call the U.S. the empire now.
It
It's
is the
straight up the empire. It is, right. And what's going on with tech, I just see like this weird cyberpunk dystopian world developing before our eyes, and I just like see like these echo chambers that are manifesting in uh, uh, online, are gonna materialize themselves in the world. We'll probably have like sectors where it's like super social. I mean, it's already kind of getting that way already. The mentality in California versus the mentality in Texas is is different in so many ways, and probably this segregation of cultural ideas is gonna become more and more pronounced, and we're gonna have like these weird different cultures just sprouting everywhere. Um, they'll reinforce each other, and it'll cut contact with the other ones. Um, in a place like the U.S., if there's like one central government that with with the invasion of privacy and all that, and for people like where the US, the idea, like the US is more of an idea than an actual country when you think about it. It's
Born of an idea. Yep.
yeah, it's and it was a revolutionary idea. It still is. It still is. Free speech, um, the government trying to stay out of your way, which is becoming less and less now. I mean, the government in the U.S. is invading your privacy like crazy now. That's like the antithesis of what the U.S. stands for. Tracking you down, making it harder and harder to start a business without being taxed like crazy. Like the idea of the U.S. is is becoming more and more fragile. What actually makes up the U.S. and it's becoming like this breeding ground for different groups and ideologies looking to climb the higher, like the ladder of power.
Like
And
earthers.
say what?
Flat earthers don't use ladders.
Yeah, exactly. So just to summarize that, I mean, it doesn't matter if they do they do get rid of guns. Like, if they make it completely illegal, there's still going to be guns.
Mm-hmm.
There's still going to be mass shooting. There might be a decrease, but what the government needs to do to get rid of those guns is going to completely go against that idea that makes the US the US. And if that happens, I think it was that idea that created this cohesion within the American people, and that made it such the great superpower that it was. And if you take away that, uh, it's like a brain divided upon itself. It's just gonna go crazy.
If you take
You
away
know.
that, you become Canada.
Yeah.
A Olympic neighbor next door.
Well, no, I mean, we're pretty. I mean, we're more like Switzerland,
We're more like
and
I'm
yeah, we are.
like Ned Flanders.
Yeah, it
But
depends where you go. Bill Burr actually on his podcast, it was like, "Oh, Canada, they pretend they're all so nice, but you got crackheads and junkies too, and they're everywhere in your major cities." He was singing that. So go fuck yourself. You guys are not so clean. It was fucking hilarious, man.
find that video after. It
Yeah, I'll send it to you. It was this Monday. It was the podcast, the Monday where we went on our trip, or the Monday before. Um, so you can check it out on his site. So it was like in the beginning of August or last week of July, um, when he talks about he was going to Montreal. But it's true. I mean, Canada has like this idea that we do have, you know, a, a decency to us in social interactions, but to say that Canada is like so vanilla and all that. I mean, you haven't gone downtown to Vancouver, Toronto, even Ottawa, in smaller cities like Quebec City and all that. I mean, there's all kinds of crazy shit that happens.
our shit
You know?
stinks too.
Oh yeah, for sure.
uh,
I mean, we have some we have our own psychos up here. I mean, fucking Picton. That is one crazy psycho.
that's right. The serial killer. That's right.
Yeah, we have a few mass shooters, mostly in Quebec.
Yeah, that's no, that's true. Because
Yeah, from my homeland.
that was a mosque too, right?
There was
Or
the Moss shooting. There was the Polytechnic shooting in the
oh,
80s. There was also the shooting in 2006 at a college or high school. Um, yeah, I mean,
There was also the shooting at the freaking the war memorial too, right? At the Parliament Hill, even.
At the Parliament, yeah, that's right, with Corporal Lortie straight up in Parliament,
That was
and that was in the '80s also. I mean, there was bond like during the Hell's Angel and Rock Machine War, in between Montreal, Quebec, Three Rivers, and also in some of the smaller regions. I mean, there was bombs going off almost every week, fucking fires, like buildings set on fires and murder. I think like the war lasted something like approximately like 10 years. I think it claimed of for sure victims. This is not counting like you know disappeared people that just disappeared and vanished. Something like it's close to 200 people. I think it's like 169 or some crazy number like that.
so our shit stinks too. So what you're saying?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Even
No.
Maxim magazine rated like the 100 most dangerous. This is like an old. I think this was like a 2001, 2002 issue, but I remember reading it. The 100 most dangerous, the top 100 most dangerous people in the world, and Mom Boucher, who was one of the who was like the leader of the HA at the time, um, was rated one of the most dangerous people in the world, right next to Saddam Hussein and Gaddafi and shit like that. So,
Well,
and this is an American, yeah, it's an American magazine. So, yeah, it was pretty crazy.
do you know what else
So,
is crazy?
say what?
What else is crazy?
What?
Where where the cheapest place to live in the world is?
Philippines, Costa Rica, Paraguay, I think.
I actually looked it up.
Vietnam is cool. Say what?
Vietnam is number one for the cheap
Yeah, yeah, and plus
to live,
for the cheapest, okay.
and it's politically fairly safe now.
Yes, yes, and it's they actually have some pretty. I was actually talking to our mutual friend, Mr. BMAC, about that, um, and he lived there, right? So
Oh yeah, that's right.
he, yeah, he lived there with his girl at the time, and that we both know also. And it he told me like had these amazing sites, and like the cities are big and they're modern and all that good stuff. Great food, great like sights to see, incredible weather, beaches, so on and so on. So and on that list, Vietnam. I was actually going to say Vietnam right before he said it. Um, that it's considered one of the best places to if you want to live like a king. If you want to be balling with about 1,000 to 1,500 Canadian, or let's say 1,000 US. Um, you go to places like Nicaragua, Costa Rica, Philippines, Vietnam, and there's a few other places. But those are the ones that stuck to me. Those are the ones that I'd probably I'd probably go there. I mean, I mean, in the Philippines, for the price of um, for a house in North Van, you could probably buy one or two islands with with actual fucking um, people living on it that can work for you.
Yeah, that's my
For the price of a shitty house in fucking North Van. Like for a tear down house in North Vancouver is going to cost you like 1 point some $1 million.
save your money, buy an island.
Exactly. That's the
That's my
plan, man.
and
You
then
know?
stock it with razor wire and machine gun batteries, so no one.
Yeah. Buy an island and then declare it its own independent country. Get an army, get some nukes, take
That
over the world, man.
yeah, that's how it starts. That's how
That's how it's
it started,
yeah,
man.
yeah.
just one man and one island, and then he just decided he would rule the world.
Yeah, exactly.
Shit.
So what would be your pick? Your say your top three picks.
My top three.
Yeah,
I was gonna throw Mexico in there because I've been to Mexico. Uh, the Baja Peninsula is pretty nice. Again,
yeah,
pretty safe. Um, where else? I was looking them up today. Costa Rica is on my list, which you're going to soon.
oh yeah, yes I am.
Mexico, South Africa's on here. Not interested. China's on here. Not interested. South Korea.
Yeah,
South Korea is kind of expensive, in my opinion.
yeah. I don't think you'll be balling with $1,000, $1,000 per month there.
Thailand.
You want to find a play? Yeah, Thailand. I think you could.
I think Thailand, but again, Thailand's become that popular destination again. So
Yeah,
if you want seclusion, I think for your best,
yeah,
I would probably choose Vietnam. And another one on my list is Peru. So
yeah. Peru is supposedly really good too. I'd say my top three is Costa Rica, the Philippines, and Vietnam.
yeah,
As like retirement. I mean for at that price you could like you could like have a place, you could have a place in every country. You know, with the type of money we're making, we could already do that, you know.
realistically, yep.
I mean, we could have uh you know, you could have a place in Costa Rica, Vietnam, and the Philippines balling like every month. I'm gonna go to my Philippines resident. I'll head back to Costa Rica next month, and
Get
then I might go back to Edmonton or Vancouver or Vernon or Quebec during the summer. But yeah, that's one of my goals, and I'd say mid long term future is to start having different pads in different areas. I'm going to start here in Canada, like have a place on the east coast, the west coast, and here in central in Alberta.
yes, I just got back from the East Coast. I really liked it over there, and
Yeah, yeah.
cheap to buy there too.
Oh yeah. I mean, Alberta, like Alberta is so cheap compared to BC, but if you compare to the east, even Ontario, which you know, Toronto's is getting pretty crazy, but the rest of Ontario is still not too bad. Um, yeah, so Alberta is pretty expensive here too compared to the rest of Canada. It really goes BC, Alberta, and then probably Ontario, Quebec. I mean Quebec. I mean it's the second most populated province, and it's dirt cheap there compared to here out west.
Yeah, no,
Man, when I showed my girlfriend like what you could get for the same price of what we were looking at in BC, she I think her jaw dropped.
her jaw dropped.
Uh, Oh, like in like even in on the outskirts, like in Chilliwack, which is what Chilliwack is about an hour, over an hour away from Vancouver, right?
Yeah,
We're we're talking about like maybe an hour 20 minutes, depending how you drive, whatever. Hope is 2 hours, and Hope is what, half an hour from Chilliwack, not even.
yeah, about
So
that.
yeah, so even in Chilliwack, like a basement suite was, you know, you could get the rare deal, but the thing is like people were just throwing themselves at those deals. So every time you'd call for like a cheaper apartment that seemed reasonable, you're like you had like 20 other applicants ahead of you.
Yeah,
And this is from my own personal experience. I actually called this guy. I think it was on Craigslist. Yeah, he had just listed, said 45 minutes, listed 45 minutes ago. Um, he's like, "Oh my god, you're like the eighth person that called me. I just listed it less than an hour ago." I'm like, "Yeah, I know. I can see the time." And he's like, "Well, I'll schedule you an appointment. when I got there, he was already signing the lease. He went through the motions, showed me the place, but like it was so obvious that he's like, well, I've got to coming up with excuses that he has to think about it and all that. Like he didn't even really ask me any questions, so I'm like, oh, so he's probably signing the lease with that girl that was still there. She was like giving me a dirty stare too, like saying, "You better not take this place from me," type of thing. Um, this was like some really basic ass studio apartment. Actually, when I saw it, I was like, "Oh, I thought there was like going to be like an extra room," but no, it was like a studio apartment. And for that, I think it was like $900 or something like that. And I mean, for that area, this was actually in Surrey, but for that area, that was like an amazing price because like there's dens being rented out in Van City, no windows, no nothing, only enough space for like a small single bed and like maybe like a small desk beside it, um, for like over $1,000.
Oh, Vancouver real estate just is outrageous.
Yeah, you think it's gonna crash?
I'm hoping. Fingers
Me
crossed.
too. I want to scoop up so much property down there, man.
Oh yeah.
Which ties into Airbnbs and such, eh?
Well, that is realistically, John, like I've come to that I came to a really weird epiphany on Thursday. And it's just like what do I really want to do with my life and what would actually like fulfill me and make my like align myself with a purpose and what I really want to do. And the only thing that really keeps coming back around is real estate.
Okay.
Personally, that's what's resonating with me uh, a lot
The yeah,
and the most right now.
yeah.
And and if you look, historically at people who become wealthy,
Hmm.
most of them are real estate investors of one sort or another, or tech entrepreneurs, or started something, in the tech world. But
Well, I mean, there's a lot of. I mean, I think the biggest three ways is like investing in companies or stocks,
yeah,
real estate, and starting a business and growing it from there. Right. Those are like the three uh, main ways to generate wealth. And oh yeah, definitely real. Well, my ex, that's what she's doing. Um,
she does
she's
Airbnb leasing, right?
Yeah, exactly. She's not even buying the property. She's just leasing properties and then turning them into Airbnbs. And she quit her teaching job. Well, a part of it to she's part time. She's like a supplement teacher now instead of being a full time teacher. And she was making good money. She was making in Australia, they pay well. They pay their teachers well. I think it was like something like 60, 70 grand or something like that. And she decided to go Airbnb full time and do the teaching gig part time. And I think she only had two or three properties. So it's definitely I've gotten like I've read a bit, and like I said, a few months ago, me and my girlfriend, my present girlfriend, um, where we were thinking about it, and it's definitely on a back burner for us. I'd love you, Bill. I'd love for you, Bill, to uh, you know, go out, make get accumulate all the knowledge and share it with me and just with me and my girl.
I'll be your crib note, sure. I'll be your,
Exactly.
yeah, I'll be your,
And I'll do the same with trading.
no, because for,
I saw, I just got to say something. I saw this guy live trading on Friday.
yeah.
He fucking predicted, like he had videos like before the trading day, like on the Thursday, saying, "Oh, this is what's going to happen." Boom, 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 and he put $4,000 into the market. He came out at the end of the day. In one day, man, he came out with some obscene amount of I think it was $163,000.
He what?
Yeah, live. He did it live,
More
and
than 10.
even did a video pre-market, like the day before, saying this is what he expects the market to do.
Wow, man. He sounds like
It's insane. Well, look, my second or third trade, I put something like um that I ever did. I put something like some small amount, like $110 or something, and I came out with $400. It was on Delta Airlines,
mm,
but that's not, obviously this is not like 4,000 to 100 and some $1,000, but like the potential with that is crazy. You really just gotta find your edge. You gotta become like the casino. You know that you're gonna lose. You're not gonna win all your hands. You got to make sure that the hands you do win always outperform your losses.
yes. Hedge your bet.
You know. Yeah, exactly. So imagine like say he lost three other, so let's say he had four times $4,000. So he had $16,000, right? Or say $5,000. So you find the trades where you're looking for a risk to reward ratio. So you're saying I'm looking for trades where it's obvious that there's going to be a big move in either direction, and I'm gonna invest like $4,000 in each of these five trades, which is $20,000. So let's just say that he only has a 20% success rate. The guy's still making coming if he still just made $143,000 there.
I guess
You know,
a bit of a savant.
it's what? Sorry,
Bit of a savant, like a Rain Man.
that guy? No, not really. It really isn't rocket science.
It's not
Uh,
rocket surgery, Batman.
yeah, exactly. No, man. Just like real estate, like you could say, like these real estate fucking millionaires or whatever are savants, but no, like you're looking into it, you're seeing, oh, this is something I can understand if I apply myself and discipline myself, and if I'm able to coalesce all this information in a workable pattern, workable format, I'll be able to make large sums of money with this. Right?
Mm,
That's how you feel about real estate. Well, this is the same way I feel about trading. This guy ain't like some weird savant or whatever. He just knows the markets. He's been in the markets. The market works like cycles. It's ebbs and flows like the tide, right?
yeah.
When you start getting a feel for it, you're able to recognize patterns, and you've been through it. If you've been doing it for like 5-6 years, you've kind of seen everything like the market can really throw at you. If you're really passionate about it, you get a feel of what's going to go on. Just like you do in anything, you discipline your mind to. But the thing is like in the market, you can make so much fucking money in so little time, but you can lose it all too. You got to be very vigilant uh, about a lot of stuff. Like the most important thing is your risk management. Something I'm still struggling a little bit with.
High risk, high reward.
Oh yeah, but there's ways to really limit your risk and still maximize your reward, especially with options, which I do. But real estate, yeah, real estate is a fairly safe haven, especially with the Airbnb gig. I mean, if you're doing like what like my ex is doing,
If you lease a place and then
you're basically you're assuming no risk. I mean, if you rent and the landlord decides to break your lease, well, you might lose your security deposit, and that's about it. But in the meanwhile, you've been able to charge. You probably be able to net profit. Like if you're able to rent your place out every night, um, you're probably, after you pay the fees, the cleaning people, and people to help you manage the properties and all that, you're probably netting like $100 every day on one property if you do it correctly.
No, I've been following a guy on Spotify, and he sets out
You've been following what?
a guy on Spotify. I can't remember the I can't remember the name of the Spotify podcast.
Yeah, what was he saying?
Well, he just talks about like what you were saying there is like even if you don't buy the property, if you start with a lease, start small, and then like you said, farm out the cleaning and
Yeah.
the management, right? So you're not like it's hands off, but at the same time you're managing it remotely in a sense with a team of people, so it becomes a uh, self not fulfilling, but a self propagating system in a sense.
Yeah, yeah.
And that's
Exactly.
I'm kind of good at doing is I'm good at building systems once I have a system in place. So
Yeah, man.
this for this upcoming year, so 2020 will be my target for up for right now. I'm just going to be digesting a lot of information about it.
Exactly. That's kind of where I'm at with trading. Um, with my other business, it's going well, and I know I can up the ante, turn up the heat on that whenever I want. I just I don't want to be too locked into my other business. So I'm focusing a lot. I'm kind of digesting a little bit less money, but more than enough to live on right now while I'm practicing trading, perfecting my skills in that. And after I crack the bank with that, you know, and with the, I want to outsource for my, I want to outsource some of the tasks from my other business and transports. And yeah, then I'm looking for other opportunities. I'm definitely looking to revive my other business, the liquidation and wholesale trading business there.
Uh,
Uh, yeah, I really want to focus on medical equipment. Um,
It's going to be medical.
yeah, so I basically I'm gonna gather a list of suppliers here in North America, and I want to supply emerging economies like India, the Philippines, other countries like Vietnam, where they don't like their healthcare system to, or even practitioners that are private, they can't afford like a brand new X-ray machine that's worth like millions of dollars. But if they can get a used one from like say a Canadian hospital where they know, it's from a good manufacturer and it's been taken care of, they have like the certifications and all that, they might buy it for a few $100,000. And you know with margins on something worth 100,000 uh, for hundreds of thousands of dollars, you can make some pretty nice margins. I mean, there's a lot of money to be made, and for me to create like contacts across the world and travel and make deals, that aspect of it is really is really interesting to me. I mean, I make money in my pajamas, so I, I,
Humble brag, but it's true.
yes, it is. I won't even say it's humble.
Extravagant brag, but it's
it's
true.
it's just true brag.
True brag, boys. True brag.
Yeah, yeah. I'm far from rich at this point, but I do all right.
No, it's
And
just mentality, in my opinion. Right?
say what?
I feel that like being rich or having like it's how you feel about yourself, right? In a sense.
Definitely. Yeah,
And,
definitely.
and it,
And I've noticed that if I neglect other aspects of my life, if I focus too much on money,
mhm.
I I'll be able to generate more. But once I've attained that goal, it's like my whole mind and body is like, well, you're neglecting the rest of us. It's like other parts of my mind or subconscious, if you will, is like, well, you're neglecting some other aspects of yourself here. I mean, money, prosperity, wealth is all good, but there's so many other aspects of existence of and life that you need to nourish and work on to be the best version of yourself and to have the best life you want, right?
True.
So I think the more you treat the other spheres in your life, be it relationships, personal strength, creativity, whatever floats your boat, in a sense, more money will come spontaneously.
What? Yeah.
You know, because your brain is just going to be like, okay, now I need more money. These other needs that I needed to quell have been quelled. Now I can go back and get this productive energy to fucking just go out and hunt and get this mammoth, right?
Go get
You
the man.
know, inside each of us there's a lion. Stop hunting for fruits and vegetables all day. Go get yourself a mammoth
Put that on a t.
and get something with meat on the bone. Meaning, like, aim for the big bucks, man. Aim for it. I mean, in a sense, it's not much harder to sell a $15,000, or even say, let's say, $5,000 used car, or $1 million Lamborghini. You know, if I'm in a used car dealership and I learn the ropes on how to sell a car, uh, and you put me, maybe like after a year, you put me in a luxury car dealership. It's not much difference. You just have a different clientele. You might have to tweak certain things, but the process is not much different.
No, exactly. It's a system after a while.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, the same principles and effort that goes in selling a used car is going to be the same as you of selling a luxury car. You know, if you're in a place that generates a continuous stream, be it a website or a physical business location, you know, if you're able to be in the same room with the proper prospects for what your offer is, it usually takes the same amount of effort to sell something.
Mm-hmm.
When I understood that, I'm like, like I used to sell fucking uh, Bell Canada packages, like internet packages and cell phone packages and stuff like that. I'm like, I could be using these skills to sell like stock lots of all kinds of stuff. So I've sold like thousands and thousands, tens of thousands of pieces of clothing. I've sell in batches, right? Like, 1,000 pieces of this here, 500 pieces of this there. I've sold, all kinds of large amounts of computers, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And it wasn't much harder. The only trick is you find the right clientele. I mean, you could lease a place, a bit more expensive, maybe like a $5,000 house, but then you'll attract like high clientele, high class clientele. You'll probably have like a lot less headaches too.
Well, that's that.
It might be a little bit different investment in your a little bit at first a little bit harder to invest, say $5,000-6,000 a month. But imagine like how much you'll be able to charge your Airbnb customers.
That's what I'm saying. Like, be choosy with your markets. You have to 80/20 your
Exactly. Yeah. Well said. Yes.
you have to 80/20 your whole enterprise. What is the 80% of 20% of my efforts are getting 80% of my results. So
Yeah.
do I really want riffraff,
Exactly.
puke and barf and have to clean up,
Yeah.
or do I want somebody who's I know has the cash up front?
Yeah.
I'm not going to have a problem with them wrecking the place.
Yeah. On top of it. Yeah. Exactly. And on top of that, people that have that type of money are usually a lot more respectful. It's usually, the people that are trying to bargain you down on a $40 a night place are usually the ones that are going to be a lot more problem causing than the people that have no problem shelling out $2,000 for a night. you know
Well said.
yeah. So wow, I could go on and on about business and entrepreneurship, my friend.
I know.
But we got we got to cut this. We got to cut this at some point.
Yep.
So I think we've been going on almost over an hour now,
Yep.
an hour and 15 minutes. So did you have anything to add, my friend?
I just want to add that we now have an Instagram account, uh, Doomer Bloomers. So at Doomer Bloomers on Instagram. Uh,
Nice,
so I use
nice.
random stuff on there right now.
We'll probably get 3 more views now.
Yeah, I hope so. I've been looking at the metrics. I mean, it's not just my mom and people listening. Uh,
All right,
yeah,
excellent.
according to the metrics, 150 people listen to this at least on a week.
Sorry.
150 people. In
Oh, nice,
yeah, it comes to my email.
nice, nice, nice.
So if you're out there, give us a shout on Instagram, and we'll try and message you back.
Yeah, Instagram.
We're
I was gonna say Instagram our asses, and I'm like, no, I'm not gonna say it non-ironically. Now I'm saying it ironically. Anyways, I think it's time to end this right now.
all right.
Come in and Instagram us. We're friendly people. We'll answer any questions you have. And hey, if you want to troll us, it'll be my pleasure. Probably Bill's too to get into to flame war with you guys. Yeah, we're talking about early 2000 terminology here. So
Yes, you flamers. All right.
yeah, we're
Yes.
bringing we're bringing retro back up in here.
Bringing the
So
1990s back in here.
yeah, yeah.
All
All
right.
right. So this is John Wynn
And Bill Tate.
signing out. Peace.